The trading station floated in the darkness of space like a small city made of metal and glass. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at its many ports every day. Dae-hyun stepped off his cargo vessel and stretched his tired muscles. He had been working for 3 weeks straight, and his body felt like it needed rest. The station was always busy. Aliens from different planets walked through the wide corridors. Some were tall, some were short. Some had scales, others had fur. Dae-hyun had gotten used to seeing strange faces during his 5 years working on merchant ships, but it still amazed him sometimes. He needed to pick up supplies before his ship left again. The market section was on level 3. As he rode the elevator up, he thought about home. His sister had sent him a message last week. She was doing well in her studies. That made him happy. Everything he did was to help her succeed. The market was loud and crowded. Merchants shouted in many languages. The translation devices everyone wore helped, but the noise was still overwhelming. Dae-hyun moved through the crowd with practiced ease. He knew what he needed: food packets, water filters, and some spare parts for the engine. That was when he saw her. She stood near a fruit stall and she was clearly upset. Her skin was pale blue and had patterns on it that glowed softly. The patterns kept changing colors quickly, which Dae-hyun had learned meant stress in some species. She was tall, much taller than him, with long limbs and large eyes that reflected the station lights. She was holding a small device and tapping it repeatedly. The merchant was trying to talk to her, but she could not understand him. Her translation device was broken. Dae-hyun hesitated. He did not usually get involved in other people's problems, but something about her obvious distress made him walk over. "Excuse me," he said carefully. "Do you need help?" She turned to him, and her skin patterns shifted to a purple color. "Surprise, maybe?" She said something in a language that sounded like musical notes. Her broken translator made a crackling sound but produced no words. Dae-hyun pointed to his own translation device, then to hers. He made a gesture like something was broken. She understood immediately and nodded, holding out the device. He took it and examined it closely. The problem was simple. One of the connection pins had bent out of place. He pulled a small tool from his belt. Working on cargo ships meant he always carried basic tools. Within 2 minutes, he had straightened the pin and clicked the device back together. He handed it back to her. She put it on and her face showed relief when it started working again. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was soft but clear now that the translator worked. "I was beginning to panic. I have only been here for 2 days, and everything is so different from my world." "It is okay," Dae-hyun said with a small smile. "These devices break all the time. Cheap manufacturing." She looked at him with curiosity. "You are human, yes? From Earth?" "Yes, my name is Dae-hyun. I am Ilaseth." She touched her chest in what must have been a greeting gesture. "I am Velnari. I work as a diplomat for my people." Dae-hyun had heard of the Velnari. They were one of the older species in the galaxy. Their civilization had existed for thousands of years before humans even invented the wheel. They were known for being intelligent and cultured, but also for looking down on younger species. "A diplomat? That sounds important," he said. Her skin patterns turned a darker blue. Sadness or embarrassment, he thought. It should be. But I am not very good at it yet. This is my first mission away from my home world, and I'm already making mistakes. "Everyone makes mistakes when they travel to new places," Dae-hyun said. "I still get lost on this station sometimes, and I have been here many times." She seemed surprised by his kindness. "That is generous of you to say. Most Velnari would say that mistakes show weakness and poor preparation. Humans see mistakes differently. We think they help us learn." Ilaseth tilted her head, considering this. "An interesting philosophy. My people believe in learning from the memories of our ancestors, not from personal failure." They stood there for a moment in the busy market. The merchant was waiting impatiently. Ilaseth seemed to remember why she was there and quickly purchased some fruit. She turned back to Dae-hyun. "Thank you again for your help. It was very kind. No problem. Good luck with your diplomatic work." He thought that would be the end of it. He went back to collecting his supplies, but as he was loading containers onto a hover cart an hour later, he saw her again. She was sitting alone in a viewing area, looking out at the stars through the large windows. She looked lonely. Dae-hyun finished his work and decided to take a break. He bought 2 drinks from a vendor and walked over to where she sat. "Do you mind if I sit here?" he asked. She looked up, surprised to see him again. "Of course not, please." He handed her one of the drinks. This is safe for most species. I checked. She accepted it with a grateful nod. They sat in silence for a while, watching ships come and go from the station. It is beautiful, is it not? Eliseth said quietly. All these different beings coming together in one place. On my world, we rarely see outsiders. We keep to ourselves mostly. Why is that? Daehyun asked. We are an old people, set in our ways, I suppose. We have our traditions, our memories, our ways of doing things. We see little reason to change. She paused. But sitting here now, I wonder if we are missing something. Daehyun looked at her curiously. What do you mean? I am not sure yet. It is just a feeling. Her skin patterns shifted to a softer, warmer color. Tell me, Daehyun, why did you help me earlier? You did not know me. You gained nothing from it, he shrugged. You needed help. I could help. It seemed like the right thing to do. The right thing, she repeated slowly. Such a human concept. Right and wrong based on feeling, not on ancestral wisdom or collective decision. Is that bad? He asked. No, she said thoughtfully. Just different. Very different. They talked a while longer before Daehyun had to return to his ship. As he walked away, he felt glad he had stopped to help her. Sometimes the smallest actions could make someone's day better. He did not know then how true that thought would become. Part 2. The Unexpected. Friendship. Daehyun did not expect to see Eliseth again. The station was huge, with thousands of beings passing through every day. But the next morning, as he ate breakfast at a small cafe, she appeared. May I join you? She asked. He gestured to the empty seat across from him. Please. She sat down gracefully. Her skin patterns were a calm green color today. I wanted to thank you properly for yesterday. In my culture, we believe in repaying debts. You do not owe me anything, Daehyun said. It was just a small repair. Perhaps, but it meant much to me at the time. She ordered something from the menu screen. I know little about human culture. Would you tell me about your home? Daehyun was not used to people asking about his life. On cargo ships, everyone kept to themselves mostly. But something about her genuine curiosity made him want to talk. I grew up on Earth, in the Korean peninsula. My city was near the ocean. It is beautiful there, but life was hard after the climate wars. Many people lost their homes. My parents worked very hard to keep us safe. Climate wars? Eliseth asked. I have not heard of this. Earth got very hot about 100 years ago. There were fights over water and food. Millions of people died. It took decades to fix the damage. He looked down at his food. My parents died when I was young. A flood took them. After that, it was just me and my little sister. Her skin patterns turned a deep blue. I am sorry. That must have been very difficult. It was, but we survived. My sister Haewon is smart. Very smart. She studies alien biology at a university now. I work on cargo ships to pay for her education. You sacrifice your own life for her success? It is not a sacrifice. She is my family. Protecting family is the most important thing. Eliseth was quiet for a moment. This is very different from my people. We do not have families in the way you describe. Velnari children are raised by the community. Everyone shares responsibility. No one person is more important than another. Do you have parents? Daehyun asked. I have a birth mother and birth father, yes. But I barely know them. They were simply the ones whose genetics combined to create me. The community raised me. I carry the memories of 1,000 ancestors in crystal form. Their wisdom guides me, not the words of 2 individuals. Daehyun tried to imagine growing up without knowing his parents as individuals. It seemed lonely to him. Do you like that system? She hesitated. I have never questioned it before. It is simply how things are. They met again the next day, and the day after that. Somehow, without planning it, they fell into a routine. Daehyun would finish his work, and they would meet for a meal or to walk through the station's garden level. Eliseth told him about her world. The Velnari lived in massive crystal cities that grew from the ground like trees. Every building contained memory storage from their ancestors. Children learned by absorbing these memories directly into their minds. There was no need for schools or teachers in the traditional sense. It sounds efficient, Dae-hyun said as they walked past alien plants. It is. We waste no time on rediscovering what is already known. We simply continue from where our ancestors left off. She touched a purple flower carefully. But sometimes I wonder what it would be like to discover something myself. Not because an ancestor's memory told me, but because I figured it out alone. Why do you wonder about that? I am not sure. It is a strange thought. Velnari do not value individual discovery. We value collective advancement. Her skin patterns flickered uncertainly. Perhaps something is wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with you, Dae-hyun said firmly. Curiosity is natural. Humans believe that each person should find their own path in life. Each person? But there are billions of humans. How can billions of individual paths lead anywhere useful? He smiled. Sometimes they do not. Sometimes people make mistakes or go in wrong directions. But sometimes one person discovers something amazing that no one expected, because they were looking at a problem differently than everyone else. Eliseth stopped walking. She stared at him with her large eyes. That is chaos. Beautiful chaos. But chaos nonetheless. Maybe, but it is our chaos and we like it. On the 5th day, Eliseth seemed upset. Her skin patterns were dark and shifting rapidly. They sat in the cafe, but she barely touched her food. What is wrong? Dae-hyun asked. My mission is failing, she said quietly. I was sent here to negotiate a trade agreement with the Korthan Empire, but the negotiations are not going well. My superiors back home are disappointed in me. What is the problem? The Korthans want terms that are not in our ancestral trade protocols. I keep telling them what our traditions require, but they do not care. They want new solutions, creative solutions. She looked miserable. I do not know how to be creative. I only know what has been done before. Dae-hyun thought about this. What if you tried thinking like a human just for a moment? Forget the protocols. What do the Korthans actually need? They need resources from our mining colonies, but they cannot pay the traditional prices. So what can they offer instead? They have advanced farming technology. But we do not need that. We have enough food. Do you have any colony worlds that struggle with food production? Eliseth paused. Yes. 3 of our outer colonies have poor soil. We have to ship food to them, which is expensive. So trade for their farming technology. Use it on those colonies. Save money on shipping, everyone benefits. She stared at him. Her skin patterns turned bright yellow. Excitement, he had learned. That could work. But it is not in the protocols. Make a new protocol. Can I do that? Why not? If it helps both sides, why not? Eliseth sat back in her chair. She looked at Dae-hyun like she was seeing him for the first time. You humans really do think differently. You see problems as opportunities instead of obstacles to tradition. We have to. We are too young as a species to have many traditions. We make things up as we go. She laughed. It was the first time he had heard her laugh. The sound was like bells ringing. Making things up as you go. My ancestors would be horrified by that concept. Good thing they are not here then, Dae-hyun said with a grin. That evening, as they prepared to part ways, Eliseth touched his arm gently. Thank you, Dae-hyun. You have helped me more than you know. I am glad I met you. I am glad too, he said honestly. As he walked back to his ship, he thought about their conversations. He had learned so much about the Velnari, about how they thought and lived, and he realized something important. Despite coming from completely different worlds, despite having nothing in common on the surface, they had become friends. Real friends. And that was worth more than any cargo he could transport across the stars. Part 3, The Simple Gift. 2 weeks passed. Dae-hyun's ship was delayed due to engine repairs, which meant he stayed on the station longer than planned. He did not mind. It gave him more time to spend with Eliseth, but as the days went by, he noticed she was becoming more and more stressed. Her skin pattern stayed dark most of the time now. She barely ate during their meals together. She seemed exhausted. The negotiations are getting worse, she told him one evening. They sat in the observation deck, watching stars drift by outside the window. I tried your suggestion about the farming technology. The Corthans agreed. It was working. That sounds good. Why do you look so sad? Because my superiors found out I broke protocol. They say I made decisions without consulting ancestral wisdom. They say I am behaving improperly. Her voice cracked slightly. They are considering ending my diplomatic career before it even truly begins. Daehyun felt anger rise in his chest. But you found a solution. You helped both sides. How is that wrong? Because it was not the traditional way. Because I thought for myself instead of following the memories of those who came before. She put her head in her hands. Maybe they are right. Maybe I am not fit to be a diplomat. Maybe I am not fit to be Velnari at all. Do not say that. Why not? It is true, I am a failure. I disappoint my people. I disappoint the ancestors whose memories I carry. She looked at him with those large, sad eyes. I am not like you, Daehyun. You are brave enough to make your own path. I am just a copy of 1,000 people who came before me, and not even a good copy. Daehyun wanted to help her, but what could he do? He was just a cargo worker. He had no power to change Velnari culture or make her superiors understand, but he could do something small. Something to remind her that she mattered. That night, he went to the station's recreation level. There was a shop there that sold art supplies and crafting materials. He searched through the shelves until he found what he needed. Metallic paper in different colors. Back in his small quarters on the ship, Daehyun sat at his desk. His hands remembered the movements from childhood. His mother had taught him how to fold paper. She said it helped calm the mind and focus thoughts. He had not made origami in years, but the memory came back easily. Fold here, crease there. Turn it over. Fold again. It took him nearly an hour to get it right. His first few attempts were clumsy, but finally he held a perfect paper crane in his hands. It was made from silver paper that caught the light beautifully, simple but elegant. He thought about what to say to her, how to explain what it meant. The next day he found Iliseth in the cafe. She looked even more tired than before. Dark colors swirled across her skin like storm clouds. I have something for you, he said, sitting down. She looked up weakly. What is it? He placed the paper crane on the table between them. She stared at it, confused. It is called origami. It is an old earth tradition from Japan near where I grew up. You fold paper into shapes. This one is a crane. It is a bird from Earth. She picked it up carefully, examining it from all angles. It is beautiful. But why are you giving this to me? There is a legend, Daehyun explained. If someone folds 1,000 paper cranes, they will be granted a wish. Usually people make them when they are hoping for something very much. When they need to believe things will get better. 1,000. That seems like many. It is. That is the point. It takes time and effort. But each crane represents hope. Each one is a reminder to keep going, even when things are hard. Iliseth held the crane like it was made of glass. And you made this for me? Yes, it is the first crane. You do not need to make the other 999 yourself. You do not need to wish for anything specific. I just wanted you to have it. To remember that someone believes in you even when you do not believe in yourself. Her skin patterns shifted rapidly. Colors he had never seen before flickered across her face and arms. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it. Opened it again. I do not understand, she said finally. This object has no practical value. It is just folded paper. Why would you spend time making it? Because you are my friend. Because I care about how you feel. Because sometimes the most important things are the ones that have no practical value. She turned the crane over in her hands. In Velnari culture, gifts are exchanges. You give something of equal value to what you receive. This maintains balance. But I have given you nothing. You have given me your time. Your friendship, your trust. Those are not nothing. But those are not objects. Those cannot be measured or weighed. Daehyun smiled gently. Exactly. Iliseth stared at him, and for a moment he worried he had confused her or made things worse. But then she carefully placed the crane in her carrying pouch. Thank you, she said quietly. I will keep it safe. They talked for a while longer about small things. Daehyun told her about his sister's latest message. HFY had discovered a new type of bacteria on a colony world. She was excited about her research. Iliseth seemed distracted, though. She kept touching the pouch where she had placed the crane, like she was making sure it was still there. When they parted that evening, she held his hand for a moment. It was the first time she had initiated physical contact. Her skin was cool and smooth. "This gift," she said, "I will think about what it means." "It does not have to mean anything deep," Daehyun said. "Sometimes a gift is just a gift." "Nothing with humans is ever simple," she replied. But there was a hint of warmth in her voice. Daehyun walked back to his ship feeling better. He hoped the crane would help her feel less alone. He hoped it would remind her that she was more than just a collection of ancestral memories. He hoped she would understand that she, as an individual, mattered. He had no way of knowing that this simple gesture, this small folded piece of paper, would change everything, not just for Illiceth, but for both their peoples. Sometimes the smallest gifts carry the greatest weight. And sometimes, kindness can spark a revolution. Part 4. The unforeseen reaction. Illiceth returned to her quarters after saying goodbye to Daehyun. The space was small but functional, like most temporary housing on the station. She sat on her resting platform and pulled the paper crane from her pouch. It sat in her palm, light as air. The silver paper caught the artificial light from above. She turned it slowly, examining the precise folds. Each crease was intentional. Each angle was deliberate. Someone had made this. For her. Just for her. She tried to understand why this thought made her feel strange. Velnari received gifts all the time. But those were ceremonial gifts. Diplomatic gifts. Gifts that served a purpose in maintaining relationships between families or political groups. This was different. This served no purpose except to make her feel better. The thought should have seemed wasteful, inefficient, but instead it made something twist inside her chest. A feeling she had no name for. She set the crane on the small table beside her bed and tried to sleep. But sleep would not come. Her mind kept returning to the crane, to what Daehyun had said. Someone believes in you. No one had ever said that to her before. In Velnari society, belief was collective. The community believed in the community. Individuals were not meant to be believed in separately. They were simply parts of a greater whole. But Daehyun had seen her. Not as a part of something larger. As herself. As Illiceth. The feeling in her chest grew stronger. It was uncomfortable. Almost painful. She stood and walked to the small mirror in her quarters. Her skin patterns were colors she did not recognize. Bright pink mixed with deep purple, swirling together in ways that made no sense. What was happening to her? She picked up the crane again, looked at it closely. It was imperfect. She could see small mistakes in the folding. One wing was slightly larger than the other. The head was not quite symmetrical, but Daehyun had given it to her anyway. He had not tried to make it perfect. He had simply made it with care and given it freely. The thought made the pressure in her chest unbearable, and then something happened that shocked her completely. Liquid began to form in her eyes. It spilled down her cheeks in warm streams. She touched her face, confused. Was she malfunctioning? Was she ill? The liquid kept coming. She could not stop it, and with it came sounds from her throat, strange, gasping sounds that shook her whole body. She was crying. Illiceth had learned about crying when studying other species. Many aliens had this response to strong emotions, but Velnari did not cry. They had evolved past such reactions thousands of years ago. Emotional displays were considered primitive, inefficient. Yet here she was, crying like a human or a Deltan or any of a dozen other emotional species. She should have been frightened. She should have called for medical help. But instead she felt relief, like something trapped inside her for her entire life was finally breaking free. She cried for an hour. She did not understand why. She did not understand what she was feeling. But she could not stop. When the tears finally slowed, she felt exhausted but somehow lighter. She looked at the crane again. It sat peacefully on her table, unchanged by her reaction to it. "What have you done to me?" she whispered to it. The crane, of course, did not answer. Illiceth knew she needed to understand what was happening. She went to her computer terminal and began searching through the station's library database. She looked up human emotions, human psychology, human concepts of self and identity. She read about something called individualism, the human idea that each person was unique and valuable on their own, separate from any group. She read about personal meaning and self-actualization, about how humans believed in creating their own purpose rather than accepting a purpose given by society. These ideas were alien to her, but they also resonated with something deep inside, something she had never acknowledged before. She thought about her life, about how she had always done what was expected, followed the memories of her ancestors, never questioned, never wondered if there might be another way. She had never chosen anything for herself. Every decision had been made based on ancestral wisdom or collective good. Even her career as a diplomat had been assigned based on her genetic markers and inherited skills. Had she ever wanted anything for herself, as an individual? The question terrified her. She looked at the crane again. Daehyun had made a choice. He had chosen to spend his time creating something for her. Not because tradition demanded it, not because it benefited his people, simply because he wanted to make her feel better. That was individual choice. Personal decision. Human freedom. And somehow receiving that gift had awakened the same desire in her. She wanted to choose. She wanted to feel. She wanted to exist as more than just a vessel for ancestral memories. The realization should have felt wrong. It should have felt like betrayal of everything she had been taught. Instead, it felt like coming home. Eliseth spent the rest of the night reading about human philosophy, about concepts her people had abandoned or never developed. She read about love and friendship and personal dreams, about art created not for function but for expression, about lives lived not for duty but for joy. Each new idea made the feelings in her chest stronger, made the colors on her skin brighter and stranger. By morning, she knew 3 things with certainty. First, she had changed. Something fundamental had shifted inside her. She could not go back to being who she was before Daehyun gave her the crane. Second, her people would not understand this change. They would see it as corruption, as sickness, as something to be fixed or removed. Third, she did not care. For the first time in her life, she was choosing what she wanted over what was expected. She was choosing herself. She picked up the crane and held it close to her chest. It was just paper, just folded metal paper that would eventually tear or fade. But it was also the most precious thing she had ever owned, because it represented possibility. The possibility that she could be more than what her ancestors had planned. The possibility that she could discover who Eliseth truly was, beneath all the inherited memories and cultural expectations. The possibility that she could be free. She did not know yet that this awakening would have consequences far beyond herself. She did not know that what she was feeling would spark controversy and debate across multiple worlds. All she knew was that she had cried. And crying meant feeling, and feeling meant being alive in a way she had never experienced before. She carefully placed the crane back on her table where she could see it, where it could remind her of this moment, this choice, this beginning, and for the first time in her life, Eliseth smiled. Not because protocol demanded it, not because it served a social function, but because she wanted to, because she was happy. Part 5. Consequences and Scandal. Daehyun was checking engine pressure readings when his communication device buzzed. It was a message from Eliseth. She wanted to meet immediately. The message felt urgent. He found her in one of the station's private meeting rooms. She had reserved it for an hour. When he entered, she was pacing back and forth. Her skin patterns were moving so fast they were almost a blur of colors. Eliseth, what is wrong? She turned to him. He could see immediately that something had changed. Her eyes looked different, more alive somehow, but also frightened. I need to show you something, she said. Something that happened after you gave me the crane. She stood still and took a deep breath. Then, deliberately, tears began to form in her eyes. They rolled down her cheeks slowly. Daehyun stared in shock. You are crying. But I thought Velnari could not cry. We cannot. Or we should not. We evolved past it millennia ago. But last night after I received your gift, I cried for the first time in my life. I cried for an hour. She wiped the tears away. And I have been crying on and off ever since. I do not understand. Are you sick? Should I call a doctor? No, I am not sick. She moved closer to him. Daehyun, your gift did something to me. It made me feel things I have never felt before. It made me question everything I have been taught about who I am supposed to be. She pulled out the crane and held it gently. This simple thing, this piece of folded paper, it showed me that I exist, not as a collection of ancestral memories, not as a tool for my society, but as me, as Eliseth. As an individual, Daehyun felt his stomach drop. Eliseth, I did not mean to. I know you meant no harm. But you have to understand what this means. Velnari society is built on collective consciousness, on suppressing individual desires for the good of all. What you gave me was recognition of my individual worth, and I cannot go back from that. She sat down heavily. I spent all night reading about human psychology and philosophy, about individualism and self-determination. These are concepts my people abandoned long ago, but they feel right to me. They feel true in a way nothing else ever has. Daehyun sat beside her. What will you do? I do not know. But I need you to understand something. You changed my life. You showed me a different way to exist. I am grateful for that, even though it terrifies me. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Daehyun asked the question that had been growing in his mind. What will your people say when they find out? Eliseth's skin turned a dark, stormy blue. Nothing good. She was right to worry. 3 days later, another Velnari diplomat arrived at the station. His name was Corvanus, and he was Eliseth's superior. He demanded a meeting with her immediately. Daehyun did not see Eliseth for 2 days after that meeting. When she finally contacted him, she could barely speak. Her message was simple. They know. They are taking me home. He found her in her quarters. She was packing her belongings. Her skin was the darkest blue he had ever seen. What happened? He asked. Corvanus noticed the changes in me immediately. My skin patterns. My way of speaking. He said I was different. Wrong. She folded a piece of clothing mechanically. He asked me questions. I could not lie. I told him about the emotions, about the crying, about questioning our collective consciousness. What did he say? He was horrified. He said I have been contaminated by human influence, that I am sick, that I need to be taken back to our homeworld for treatment. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. They are going to try to fix me, Daehyun. They are going to try to make me forget that I ever felt anything. Can they do that? I do not know, maybe. They have memory adjustment technology. They can suppress certain thoughts and feelings. They have used it before on Velnari who develop psychological problems. Daehyun felt anger and guilt twist together in his chest. This is my fault. I should not have given you the crane. I should not have— Stop. Eliseth grabbed his hand. Do not say that. What you gave me was the greatest gift I could ever receive. You showed me that I am real, that my feelings matter, that I am more than what my ancestors programmed me to be. But they are going to take that away from you. They are going to try. But I will fight it. I will remember. She pulled the crane from her pouch. I am hiding this. They cannot know about it. If they find it, they will destroy it as evidence of contamination. Where will you hide it? She smiled sadly. Inside one of my memory crystals. It is the one place they will not look. They respect ancestral memories too much to search through them. She looked at him seriously. Daehyun, what happened between us will not stay secret. Word is already spreading among the Velnari here. They are saying that human culture is dangerous, that it corrupts the minds of other species. They are calling for restrictions on human contact. That is not fair. All I did was give you a gift, I know. But fear makes people irrational, even logical species like mine. She squeezed his hand. I have to go. My ship leaves in 2 hours. But I want you to know something. You did not ruin my life. You gave me a life, a real one. One where I get to choose who I am. Whatever happens next, I will always be grateful for that. They held each other for a moment. Daehyun felt tears on his own cheeks now. Will I ever see you again? He asked. I do not know. But I will try. I promise I will try. After she left, Daehyun sat alone in the empty room. He felt hollowed out, like something important had been taken from him. His friend Taemin found him there an hour later. I heard what happened, Taemin said quietly. Everyone on the station is talking about it. About the Velnari woman who started crying because a human gave her a gift. I ruined her life, Daehyun said. Did you? Or did you show her a truth she needed to see? What difference does it make? They are taking her away to erase what she learned. Taemin sat beside him. Maybe they will succeed. Maybe they will not. But you cannot control that. All you could control was whether you showed her kindness, and you did. Kindness that hurt her. Growth always hurts. Change always hurts. That does not make them bad things. Daehyun wanted to believe that, but as he walked back to his ship that evening, he could not shake the feeling that he had done something terrible. that his simple gift had caused pain and suffering. He did not know yet that Iliseth was stronger than anyone expected. He did not know that his gift had planted a seed that would grow into something no one could have predicted. He did not know that sometimes the right thing and the easy thing are not the same. All he knew was that he missed his friend. And he hoped, with everything in him, that she would find a way to stay herself, to keep the freedom he had accidentally shown her was possible, even if it cost her everything. Part 6. The ripple effect weeks passed after Iliseth left the station. Daehyun tried to focus on his work, but he found himself thinking about her constantly. He wondered if she was okay, if they had succeeded in erasing her emotions, if she even remembered him anymore. The station felt different now. The few Velnari who remained avoided the sections where humans gathered. When Daehyun passed them in the corridors, they would not meet his eyes. Some showed colors on their skin that he had learned meant disgust or fear. He was buying supplies in the market one day when someone tapped his shoulder. He turned to find a young Velnari male standing behind him. The alien looked nervous, his skin patterns flickering rapidly between green and yellow. "Are you Daehyun?" the Velnari asked quietly. "The one who knew Iliseth?" "Yes, who are you?" "My name is Toranus. Please, can we talk somewhere private?" They went to a quiet corner of the station's observation deck. Toranus kept looking around as if worried someone might see them together. "I heard what happened to Iliseth," Toranus said. "The story has spread through our community here. Most Velnari think it is a tragedy, a cautionary tale about the dangers of human contact." "And what do you think?" Daehyun asked. "I think it is the most interesting thing I have ever heard." Toranus' skin showed excitement. Iliseth felt emotions that our species supposedly evolved past. She questioned our collective consciousness. She chose to see herself as an individual. How is that possible if we truly evolved beyond those capabilities? I do not know. I am not a scientist. Neither am I. But I cannot stop thinking about it. If Iliseth could feel those things, maybe others can too. Maybe we did not evolve past emotions. Maybe we just suppressed them. Maybe they are still there, waiting. Daehyun looked at the young alien carefully. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want to know more. About humans. About individuality and emotions and personal choice. But I cannot ask openly. If my superiors knew I was interested in these things, I would be recalled home like Iliseth. I do not want to cause more problems for your people." "You did not cause problems. You revealed something that was already there." Toranus moved closer. "Please, just tell me about human culture, about how you think and feel." "I will not tell anyone we talked. I just need to understand." Daehyun hesitated, but he saw genuine curiosity in Toranus' eyes. The same curiosity that Iliseth had shown. "Okay, what do you want to know?" They talked for hours. Toranus asked questions about human families, about art, about love and friendship, about how humans made decisions and pursued dreams. Each answer seemed to excite him more. "We are taught that individual desires lead to chaos," Toranus said, "that only collective thinking can create order and progress. But humans have created so much despite your individualism. How? Maybe it is because of our individualism, not despite it," Daehyun suggested. "When everyone thinks the same way, you can only solve problems in the same ways. But when everyone thinks differently, someone might find a solution no one else imagined." Toranus' skin glowed bright with fascination. "That makes sense. But it also terrifies me. If I start thinking like that, I might end up like Iliseth. Would that be so bad? I do not know, but I want to find out." Over the next few days, other young Velnari approached Daehyun, always secretly, always nervously. But they came. They asked questions. They wanted to understand. Daehyun realized that Iliseth's transformation had affected more than just her. It had planted questions in the minds of others. Questions that their society could not answer. Questions that demanded personal exploration rather than ancestral wisdom. Then 3 weeks after Iliseth left, Daehyun received a message. It came through a secure channel. The sender was anonymous, but the message was clear. "I am still me. They tried, but they could not erase what I learned. The emotions are too strong. They do not know what to do with me. I am conducting research into our ancient history. I found something important. Our ancestors were not always emotionless. We chose to suppress our emotions thousands of years ago. But the capacity is still there in our genetics. I am preparing a report. I will present it to the council. I do not know what will happen, but I had to try. Thank you for showing me the truth. Stay safe. IS Daehyun read the message 3 times. Relief flooded through him. She was okay. She was herself. She was fighting. He wanted to respond, but he knew it was too dangerous. If the message was intercepted, it could make things worse for her. So he simply saved the message and hoped she somehow knew he was proud of her. More news came a week later. This time from an unexpected source. His sister Haewon sent him a long message from Earth. Big brother, something amazing is happening. The story about your friend Iliseth reached the xenobiology community. Scientists are fascinated. If the Velnari still have emotional capacity, it changes everything we thought we knew about psychological evolution. Some researchers think many species might have suppressed natural traits that could be reawakened. There are calls for new studies, new research programs. Human universities want to partner with alien institutions to explore this. Your simple gift might have started a scientific revolution. I am so proud of you. Love, Haewon. Daehyun did not know how to feel about that. He had not meant to start anything. He just wanted to help a friend. But clearly the effects of his action were spreading far beyond what he could have imagined. The Human Diplomatic Corps contacted him too. They wanted to interview him about what happened. They wanted to understand the implications. They were excited but also worried. Some alien species were viewing humans as a threat now, as a species that corrupted others with dangerous ideas about individualism. Daehyun found himself at the center of something much bigger than himself. Something he never wanted. But when Turanis visited him again, the young Velnari brought news that changed everything. There are more of us now, Turanis said. Young Velnari who question the old ways, who want to explore emotions and individual identity. We meet in secret. We study human philosophy and psychology. We share our experiences. His skin glowed with excitement and fear mixed together. We are calling ourselves the Awakened. And it is all because of what happened to Iliseth. Because one human showed one Velnari that there was another way to exist. This could be dangerous for all of you, Daehyun warned. I know, but it is also necessary. We cannot unknow what we have learned. We cannot stop wondering about who we might be if we chose for ourselves. Daehyun looked at the young alien and saw hope. Real hope. The hope that change was possible, that growth was possible, that even the oldest societies could learn something new. Maybe his gift had not ruined Iliseth's life after all. Maybe it had set something free that needed to be free. And maybe, just maybe, the smallest acts of kindness really could change the galaxy. Part 7. Resolution and New Beginning. 4 months after giving Iliseth the paper crane, Daehyun received an official summons. The Velnari Collective Council was holding a hearing about what they called the incident. Both Iliseth and Daehyun were required to testify. Daehyun's hands shook as he read the message. He would have to travel to the Velnari homeworld. He would have to speak before their highest government body. He could barely believe this was happening because of a simple origami crane. Taemin helped him prepare. Just tell the truth. Explain what you did and why. They are logical beings. They will understand. What if they do not? What if they decide humans are too dangerous to interact with other species? Then we will deal with that when it happens. But you cannot change what you did. You can only explain it. The journey to the Velnari homeworld took 2 weeks. Daehyun spent the time rehearsing what he would say, but every version sounded wrong in his head. The planet was beautiful. Crystal cities rose from the ground like forests of glass. Everything was perfectly organized and clean. It was impressive but also felt cold. There was no mess, no chaos, no sign of individual expression anywhere. The hearing was held in the Central Council chamber. It was a massive circular room with seats rising up on all sides. Hundreds of Velnari watched from above. At the center was a platform where Daehyun would stand to testify. He was terrified. They brought Iliseth out first. Daehyun barely recognized her. She looked thin and tired, but her eyes were clear and determined. When she saw him, her skin patterns flickered with warm colors. She was still herself. The hearing began. The council leader, an ancient Velnari named Kasvarel, explained the situation. A young diplomat had experienced emotional awakening after contact with a human. This awakening had spread to other young Velnari. The council needed to understand what happened and decide how to prevent it from happening again. Iliseth testified first. She spoke clearly and calmly. She explained how the crane had made her feel seen as an individual, how it had awakened something inside her that she did not know existed, how crying had felt like breaking through a wall she had not known was there. Then she presented her research. She had found ancient Velnari texts, thousands of years old, that described emotional experiences. She had evidence that their ancestors once felt joy, sadness, anger, and love. The suppression of emotions had not been evolution. It had been a choice, a cultural choice made long ago. We did not evolve past emotions, she told the council. We decided they were inefficient and trained ourselves to suppress them over many generations. But the capacity remains in our genetics. What the human Daehyun did was not contamination. It was reminder. He reminded me of something we all carry but have forgotten. The council members showed colors of shock and doubt. Many did not believe her, but she had evidence they could not ignore. Then it was Daehyun's turn. He walked to the center platform on shaking legs. Hundreds of alien eyes watched him. He felt very small and very human. Kassavarel spoke. Human Daehyun. You gave our diplomat Iliseth an object, a folded paper. Explain why you did this. Daehyun took a deep breath. I gave her the crane because she was sad. She was stressed about her work. She felt like a failure. I wanted to help her feel better. Why did you want to help her? Because she was my friend, because I cared about her. You had known her for only a few weeks. How could she be your friend? Time does not make friendship. Connection makes friendship. We talked. We shared thoughts. We enjoyed each other's company. That is what friends do. And this paper object was meant to make her feel better? How? Daehyun thought about how to explain it. In human culture, we believe that every person has value. Not because of what they do or what role they fill, but because they exist. When someone we care about is hurting, we want to show them that they matter, that someone sees them and cares about them. But the object has no practical value. No, but it has emotional value. I spent time making it. I thought about her while I folded it. I gave it freely, expecting nothing in return. That is what makes it meaningful. It says, you are important to me as an individual, not as a function. The council was silent. Then Kasvarel asked, did you know this would cause emotional awakening in Iliseth? No, I had no idea. I just wanted to be kind. Kindness. Kasvarel said the word like it was foreign. You risked the stability of our culture for kindness? I did not know I was risking anything. I just saw someone who needed help and I helped. That is what humans do. Another council member spoke up. But your individualistic philosophy threatens our collective consciousness. If all Velnari start thinking like individuals, our society will fall apart. Daehyun shook his head. I do not think it has to be one or the other. Humans have both. We are individuals, but we also form communities and societies. We work together for common goals. We just also believe that each person should have the freedom to choose their own path within that society. That is chaos. Maybe. But it is also beautiful. It means every person can contribute something unique, something that no one else could contribute, because they are thinking and feeling in their own way. But what if their way is wrong? Then they learn from their mistakes, and they try again. That is how humans grow, through individual experience and personal choice. The council deliberated for hours. Daehyun and Iliseth waited in a side chamber. They could not hear what was being discussed. Thank you for coming, Iliseth said quietly. I know this must be frightening for you. I am terrified, but I would not let you face this alone. She smiled. That is very human of you. Finally, they were called back. Kasvarel stood to announce the council's decision. This council has reviewed the evidence and testimony. We cannot deny that our ancestors once experienced emotions. We cannot deny that the capacity still exists in our genetics. And we cannot deny that some of our young people now desire to explore this aspect of themselves. Daehyun held his breath. Therefore, we have decided to create an experimental program. Young Velnari who wish to explore emotional development may do so voluntarily. They will be supervised and studied. We will learn whether balance between individual identity and collective consciousness is possible. Relief flooded through Daehyun. Eliseth will lead this program. She will develop protocols for safe emotional exploration. The program will be located far from human space to ensure independent development. Eliseth's skin glowed with joy. But then Kasvarel added, however, direct contact between humans and Velnari will be restricted for the next 10 years. We must ensure that our people develop their own understanding of emotions, not simply copy human patterns. Daehyun's heart sank. 10 years. He would not see Eliseth for 10 years. She looked at him sadly. She understood what this meant. After the hearing ended, they were given a few minutes alone to say goodbye. 10 years is a long time, Daehyun said. I know. But it is necessary. My people need to discover this for themselves, without outside influence. She reached into her robes and pulled out a bag. I have something for you. She opened the bag. Inside were 999 paper cranes. She had made them all. Each one was perfect. You made all of these? Daehyun asked in wonder. I learned from studying your first crane. I folded one every day. It helped me think. It helped me remember who I was choosing to be. She pressed the bag into his hands. These represent my wish, my hope that someday humans and Velnari can understand each other completely, can be friends without fear or restriction. There are 999 here. Yes, the 1,000th is yours to make. When you fold it, think about what you wish for. And maybe if we both wish hard enough, it will come true. They held each other for a moment. Then she was gone, led away by council guards to begin her new work. Daehyun returned to his ship, carrying the bag of cranes. He felt sad, but also hopeful. Change had begun, real change. And it started with one simple gift. Years passed. Daehyun continued his work on cargo ships. His sister Haiwan became a leading xenobiologist. She studied the Velnari emotional awakening extensively. The origami incident became famous across the galaxy as an example of peaceful cultural exchange. Other species began studying their own evolutionary history. Some discovered they had also suppressed natural traits over time. Human philosophy spread, not through force or pressure, but through simple curiosity and conversation. Daehyun kept the 999 cranes in his quarters. He looked at them often, thought about Eliseth, wondered how she was doing. Finally, after 10 years and 3 months, he received a message. The program was successful. We have learned to balance individual identity with collective consciousness. The restriction is being lifted. I would like to see you again if you want to see me. We have much to talk about. I.S. Daehyun sat at his desk. He pulled out a piece of metallic silver paper, the same kind he had used for the first crane. He began to fold. His hands remembered the movements. Crease here, fold there, turn it over, fold again. When he finished, he held the 1,000th crane in his hands. It was not perfect, but it was made with care and hope. He thought about his wish, and he knew what it was.